What is happening at JGame Dude here? And Todd Howard has actually talked about the fact that there is I was going to say drama, but it's really more a controversy around the whole thing about charging $7 for a quest, or rather $10 if you don't have any Starfield Creation Club credits. So let's kind of jump into that. So effectively, he did do a interview with Mr. Maddie Plays, who is a massive YouTube channel, has about 500,000 subs, and this was actually quite the interview. But there's a specific part that I wanted to tackle, which was the Starfield Creation Club stuff. So effectively, what Starfield had introduced after the presentation, or the Xbox presentation, was Creation Club to Starfield, and effectively they have a quest in there that was created by Bethesda that costs 700 Starfield credits, and that equates to about $7 in USD. However, you can't just buy that many Starfield Club credits, or whatever you want to call it, in that monetary amount. Instead, what you have to do is pay $10 worth, because that is the minimum amount that you can pay to get enough credits to then be able to buy the $7 amount. Otherwise, you'll be underpaying in terms of number of credits, and ultimately then be paying more for the Tracker Alliance quest called something that I can't quite remember off the top of my head. But yeah, so Mr. Maddie Plays did the interview, which this is the interview right here, and I'm going to actually link the interview in my in the description below, is what I was going to say, but this has actually been linked everywhere. In the quest itself, yeah, it's called The Vulture. Now so effectively what he said is, we need to evaluate both pricing and what we put out for free, and how we communicate what's in something. Now, Howard revealed the intention was to go the extra mile by writing a quest around a new outfit and weapon, rather than simply selling those in the store as is, in response to worries of Bethesda chopping up a quest line to sell for 700 credits a pop. Howard said that's not what we want at all. And it's interesting that he says that, because this is the kind of stuff that's been happening in Fallout 76, albeit in the case of Fallout First, where you're paying a subscription to get additional in-game commodities, but you have to pay real money for it and can't get it in any other way. Now, what's also really interesting is the fact that he was going to sell an outfit and a weapon in the store as is, and not make it seem like as if they're chopping up content from the main game in order to then sell back to you, because that's absolutely what it seems like it is. If it's just a weapon and an outfit, I don't think a lot of people would buy it. But if it's a quest and a weapon and an outfit, not only will people be willing to buy it for the quest, but also you can upcharge the amount that you're actually selling to people and things along those lines. So I feel like the answers that Todd has actually been giving isn't been particularly good, especially regarding this. And I had actually made a few notes in my little notepad here that I have, about things that I don't know he actually ever considered how it would look from people looking at this sort of quest from the outside, from Todd Howard's perspective. So first thing is that it's a Bethesda controlled marketplace. So the Creation Club is completely controlled by Bethesda. The amount that is being charged is completely Bethesda's choice, and on top of that, Bethesda also puts the dollar amount to however many Creation Club credits you purchase on a given amount. So the fact that you need to pay for at least $10 worth of credits in order to access a $7 quest means you will still have 300 Creation Club credits left in your account, just wasting away because you spent an extra $3 for something that you're not getting value out of. But guess what? You know, Bethesda is getting your money pretty much immediately and as it is. In saying that, with the whole thing about creator credits, the thing is that community sentiment isn't particularly good around Starfield anyways, because people who are known for making the biggest mods for Bethesda games have actually kind of moved away from Starfield and are continuing to actually just work on things like Fallout 4 or Skyrim and things like that. So community sentiment not at a particularly great place, and hell, if anything, this really just doesn't inspire confidence that they aren't going to do it again, because they've tried it before with Fallout 76, and because they've tried some similar types of like upcharging for content that is gameplay affecting. Again, I'm going back to Fallout 76 with the Fallout first, the subscription model for that. I can't imagine but think that, hey, if Bethesda couldn't get away with it then, and people have now been much more acclimated to paying for things within games, let's see if we can try and push this out. Now, this is just a theory from my perspective. That's the first thing that I want you to kind of take away from this, is this little bit that I've said about, hey, people didn't accept it before, how about now? And then pushing it out. That is just a theory from my perspective, and it's weird because with the way that DLCs and things like armor, outfits, additional colors for characters and things like that, it's really important to remember that I feel like Bethesda kind of started this whole thing, because keeping in mind the whole horse armor debacle that actually happened before. Because we talk about the $2 horse armor as like the progenitor to all of the DLCs, additional microtransactions and things that we're kind of having to pay for now, and how much worse it gets over time. Let's not forget that it was in fact Bethesda that kind of started this whole thing in the first place. So for them to think, okay, people didn't accept paying for additional content before in this particular manner or way, so we provided it as a subscription service, but now we're going to try and put it out as like a single $7 quest. And the thing is that making a single $7 quest and making a $20 expansion, the $7 quest is going to make Bethesda way more money, because way more people are willing to pay a lower price point for significantly lesser content, because it requires less work or less overhead ultimately to do. And ultimately, the last kind of point I was even wanting to make was that the game's on Game Pass. And this is where my beef with Game Pass really starts to kick in, and I don't know if I'm the only one who thinks like this, but please let me know in the comments below if you also do kind of agree or disagree, and why, of course, in the comments below. But with the fact that Game Pass gives you the game, it makes it okay to pay for additional stuff. Because you didn't have to pay for the game, hey, a few microtransactions here and there probably aren't going to hurt. But the problem is, you're still effectively adding to that for Bethesda. So Bethesda now starts to think it's okay to charge for a single quest every now and again. And ultimately, then making that their business model ultimately. Is it a bit much to say that it's a hell of a business model to make and that it's probably never going to happen? I would say it's never, never say never when it comes to these sorts of things, because I feel like eventually we could find ourselves there. So the idea that I'm trying to say with this last point is that Game Pass is devaluing games in favor of people paying for additional microtransactions and other subscriptions that are adding on to the overall cost, and that's how they're taking money out of you in bite-sized smaller increments to a point where you as the purchaser is not going to notice. And the fact that also the mentality around games coming to Game Pass being like, okay, why on earth would I ever want to pay for a game when I could just wait for it to come on Game Pass, and just things along those lines just kind of permeating in the Xbox space. So I feel like Xbox just really, what they've done with Game Pass is just kind of poisoning the industry to some extent. And I feel like the way in which Game Pass is being handled shouldn't be handled the way that it is. It should really be handled like how PlayStation is doing PlayStation Plus, where a bunch of games are going to come to the service. However, when it comes to first party games, it may come to the service in future, but not at launch. So that's just kind of what I've been thinking. This is kind of what's been going on. Let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel. I'm aiming for 300 subs by the end of the year. And with all of that said and done, I do upload every day, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.